YouTube Going the Goat House is back. Today we're ranking every starting quarterback in the NFC from 16 to 1. I am basing this off how I think they will play this upcoming 2022 season. So basically predictions. Did the same thing for the AFC quarterbacks. A lot of people had problems where I had Trevor Lawrence, but again, I'm predicting the upcoming season. That's what I like to do here because we're getting ready for the upcoming season. So based off the last video, I think there'll probably be more problems with my NFC rankings. It's definitely different than the AFC, where the talent of the quarterbacks are. There's more in the AFC, obviously, at the top at least, the top tier category. But I'm excited to break this down, give you my rankings. Let me know your rankings in the comments. You're playing along on Twitter. Live updates on our Twitter as well. Also, like, subscribe to notifications on me. Much appreciated. Here's our Twitter. Kind of asked you guys to rank your NFC quarterbacks. Did the same thing for AFC yesterday. Constant posts and updates here around the NFL. So starting at 16 through 13. Again, this is kind of predicting the upcoming season. Sam Darnold I have at the bottom. Based off of, well, I don't think he's going to play every game this year either. The Panthers very well could get Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo still. If they don't, I still don't think Darnold, I think he starts. I don't think he finishes. I think Corral probably comes in at some point, even though he's kind of a raw quarterback prospect. I really think they end up with Baker or Jimmy. We'll see. But yeah, Darnold struggled big time with the Panthers last year. Just couldn't get much going. He kind of had some flashes here and there very early, but I have him at the bottom. Just hasn't been able to figure it out. 15, I'm going to go Geno Smith. I was back and forth on ranking Geno Smith or Drew Lock. They keep hyping up Drew Lock, and that kind of makes, the Seahawks, like they like him, a lot. That kind of makes it sound like they're going to start Drew Lock, but I don't know. I don't think that necessarily means that. I think Geno Smith is the better quarterback day one. So they probably go with Smith, but, if it is Lock, you maybe debate ranking him at 16, but I put Geno at 15. Marcus Mariota at 14. Him and Daniel Jones, I was kind of back and forth with because Mariota's got some good play under his belt when he had to come in for the Raiders. Not often, but looked pretty solid. He's familiar with that Arthur Smith scheme system, that offense there, having Kyle Pitts, now Drake London. Maybe Mariota can do some damage. Daniel Jones still young, still could improve, still waiting on him to improve, but that was kind of deciding factor between the two of them. Was the Giants bringing Brian Daboll, very good offensive mind. Daniel Jones should improve a little bit. I'm not expecting a huge, massive upgrade, but he should definitely improve a little bit. Just got to take care of the ball in crucial situations there. So that's the thing. You kind of see these flashes, maybe a little more flashes here and there. Maybe there's better receivers there if they fully stay healthy. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of Galladay. If Tony's healthy, that's fantastic. Shepard's healthy. Darius Slayton. There's some solid receivers there. So you just got to stay consistent with Daniel Jones. It's just kind of, you don't want him to, he has those flashy moments, but there's times where he's the guy that takes the game away from his own team. The defense puts him in a position to win. He has weapons, kind of takes it away from his own team. So he's got to cut that out. He's got to improve a little bit here. This season will decide if he's the guy there for the Giants. So I have him at 13. Next few guys here. Justin Fields at 12. It's a tough one to rank because I like Justin Fields. I like the upside there with him. I keep going back to that Steelers game last year. Was fantastic. Kind of was that game to kind of give us an idea what he can do, what he can become, because he has the talent in him. Just tough to rank because he may have the worst. He probably does have the worst supporting cast around him in the entire NFL. So the Bears kind of in that rebuild process. Look at his receiver unit. Might be the worst. You look at the offensive line, might be the worst. You put those together, it's probably the worst. So that's the tough part there for Justin Fields. I do like Darnell Mooney. There's not a whole lot going on, after that. So we'll see if they could still add somebody in free agency. But that's a tough part, for Fields, that you would like to think they got better in terms of scheme, play calling. You would think so. So that could help a little bit. Fields needs to get the ball out quicker. Not doing that last year resulted in him losing the ball, fumbling the ball way too much. So he's got to do that a little bit better. But he has the tools, he has the traits. If they had even decent supporting cast around him, I'd have him ranked much higher because it's kind of wide open until you get to the top 6 of the NFC quarterbacks, I'd say. So it would be a lot higher. It's just that supporting cast in predicting this year with these rankings kind of brings him down. Goff at 11. And I was playing around with Goff and Fields, but then I thought, Fields supporting cast might be the worst in football, and maybe it got worse than last year. Goff maybe had the worst, in terms of receivers last year, and now it's looking pretty good, actually. They had Jamison Williams, DJ Chark, who's fantastic if he stays healthy, and Amon-Ra St. Brown really got going later. And Goff didn't really play that bad last year. I know people view him as bad for some reason. He didn't really play terrible. He's got to be better, especially in crucial moments, but he actually could get better this year because second year with him in the line, second year with the coaching staff, new supporting cast, better receivers out there. So Goff actually could play a little bit better. Jalen Hurts, another tough one to rank at 10 because he's got to be much better as a passer. He did step up last year when we kind of got to see him kind of full term there for the Eagles. But he does have to be better. I do like the running game for him, so that definitely helps him in this category. He's got better weapons. You think, adding A.J. Brown, you would think they got better weapons. And then Devontae Smith, second year, stepping up. But Hurts needs to do a better job stretching the field as a passer. We saw that last year. So many games where they're kind of winning with defense or winning with running the ball. They're not scoring enough points. They're not executing in the obvious passing situations. There's times where, do they need to put Minshew in? Should they put Minshew? Even the playoff game, the Bucs just purely game plan for the run. Let the Eagles kind of beat them in the passing game. They just couldn't do it. So, and some of the fan base and some of the people around the league, should this be the guy? Should they put Minshew in? But Hurts can continue to improve. He just has to improve that passing game. But he did last year, and so therefore he could continue to improve, and he has that flashy ability to him as well. And again, adding A.J. Brown, guys like that helps. So Carson Wentz, a former Eagles quarterback. I just think, Wentz is sloppy, has those sloppy turnovers, but I think him being just a much better passer than Hurts is kind of the difference there. But I still liked what the Eagles did, so that's really not to have a take on that situation, with the picks they got out of Carson Wentz. And the Eagles are kind of they're still preparing to find their quarterback of the future. You can see it, you can feel it. So that kind of says a lot as well. But Carson Wentz he's got to do a better job taking care of the ball in crucial moments, obviously. But I actually like him a little, even if you think the Colts are better than the Commanders, very realistic to think that. You could also think the opposite. But even if you think that, I also think that Wentz should be better with the Commanders, have a better season this year than he did last year. Not by a lot. It's still the same guy. Why I say that is the Colts, I've talked about this before, the Colts last year kind of switched their offense a little bit, still kind of felt run first, but they added a lot more RPO to their game, which kind of fits Wentz, which the Colts didn't really have as much the previous year. The Commanders were towards the top of the NFL running that RPO with that many RPO plays, and Wentz fits that very well. So it's kind of like a plug and play. When you trade for a quarterback, it's plug and play, but it's kind of almost feels like a better fit. And that's why the Commanders were high on Wentz, because they didn't really view it as much of a project or a big-time process, or he'll get there. They view him as kind of a pro-ready guy for their system. It's just really take care of the ball or not. So I put Wentz at 9. And now I might have some surprises. I put Jameis Winston at 8, which I think most people probably rank lower because he's had some turnover problems and he missed most of last year. How will he be off the injury? I guess that's the question, the injury. And they do have Dalton to step up in case he does get injured. But I always kind of like Jameis Winston. You can't turn the ball over as much as he did in the past. But last year, you go back to last year, even with the Saints' rough receiver unit, maybe the worst in football, the Saints were a dangerous team. Jameis Winston was playing very, very solid, and he was taking care of the ball way better than anyone expected. So kind of got to remember that. And now he's back, hopefully kind of the talent, because he does have that arm talent. Even though he turns the ball over, and he didn't really last year, but even if you think he's a turnover machine, he still has arm talent. He still has that big playability. So, and again, the Saints were dangerous when he was in there last year, so now he's going to be in there to start week 1. But now you got Michael Thomas back. You got Jarvis Landry. You got Chris Olave, who I think really fits kind of that Jameis Winston ball, that kind of downfield. He just gets that separation, gets so wide open that Winston should be able to hit him. So factor all of that in. I think Winston's going to be, as long as he's healthy, a top 8 quarterback in the NFC this year. So that might be a little bold. And this is where I think people are going to have some problems with me, because Trey Lance, if I were to rank today, you don't put Trey Lance at 7, based off today, right this second, because he's barely even played. And we've seen maybe a little bit of accuracy issues. People just don't love what they're hearing about Trey Lance, but these rankings are based off me predicting the season because that's how I like to do it. And I think, you got to factor in that Trey Lance is on the San Francisco 49ers, that he's playing under Kyle Shanahan, that system. I think he's going to have some success. Still the accuracy issues because he tries to whip the ball as hard as he can, maybe on some layup throws. That will pop up here and there still. He's going to be able to run at a high level, but he does have the arm talent. He has flashy ability. He has that. He can pass the ball. He can throw the ball. So, and again, I like the 49ers roster. I like the 49ers team. So, you take some other second year like Justin Fields. If he was on the 49ers, he'd probably ranked higher in this, or maybe probably right here actually, because I do think there is a gap between the top 6 and then the rest of the guys there. But so I'm just based off how people rip me about where I rank Trevor Lawrence. I think mainly they don't understand that it's kind of predicting this upcoming year. I would imagine I'd probably get ripped a little bit more for Trey Lance because a lot of people are doubting him. And I don't think he's as good as Trevor Lawrence, but NFC and AFC are different. But a lot of people are doubting him. Kind of hear these reports that things aren't looking good for Lance. The coaching staff's not through with him. I don't know. I kind of like that, for Lance's sake. We're kind of hearing these things about Burrow last year. A little bit different. He's not Joe Burrow, but and then Burrow was coming off the injury, but Burrow goes to the Super Bowl, obviously. So I think Lance can get the job done this year. There's still going to be like the raw moments where okay, he's really got to work on that. Maybe the accuracy a little bit, maybe tone it down a little bit, maybe some mechanics, but I think he could have a pretty successful year here for the San Francisco 49ers. So, and there's not too much competition. Look at the rest of the guys in the NFC here. So I put Lance at 7. I think he's in a good situation. I wish some of the other guys weren't as good of a situation there, so we can rank them higher. On to the top 6, I got Kirk Cousins at 6 of the Vikings. I thought he had a very productive year last year, very solid year, even though they didn't make the playoffs. Had some clutch situations. They just happened to choke games, and it really wasn't on the offense of Kirk Cousins. So, but now we would think a better offensive staff in there, maybe a little more suited to thrive in the passing game, even though they kind of somewhat did last year. And he has his weapons too. He has Justin Jefferson. He has Adam Thielen. He has Dalvin Cook. Irv Smith Jr. is going to be back, so that definitely helps as well. But having Kevin O'Connell is big time as well. Offensive line, I thought, stepped up last year, which was big time for them because they were at the bottom of the league before that. And I think it was because they got some solid young offensive linemen in there. So those young guys can continue to improve to help Kirk Cousins as well. So I got him at 6. We'll see if he kind of can do what he did last year and some, because that could be special for the Vikings there. 4 and 5, pretty close. We went Kyler Murray at 5. He started last year like he's an MVP. If he can kind of consistently keep that going, continue to play like that, he's gonna be better than 5. Can he execute down the stretch, in the big games, some sloppy play, maybe take care of the ball a little bit better down the stretch in those big games. The playoff game was an absolute disaster. So we got to wipe that clean, and he really got to step up in those big games here going forward. He's still very young. He actually can still improve, so he kind of can climb these rankings here. But I'm expecting good things to start the year again. It's just, can he kind of get over that hump there? So again, still a young player, so he definitely can get there. So he's at 5. And they had his former teammate Hollywood Brown, so that could be big time for him without Hopkins early on, though. So we'll see how that plays out there for Murray and the Cardinals. 4, I got Dak Prescott, who seems to be excellent in the regular season. Very productive, dangerous, obviously. And then the playoff game, he kind of hesitate a little bit to make the big time throws that he can make, that he made all regular season long. So I kind of want to see him get over that hump as well. I would like for him to have a better playoff game there, but it was against a stout 49ers defense. But we know what to expect from Dak. He'll be very strong in the regular season. They don't have Amari Cooper anymore. I don't think that hurts Dak much there. We'll see if maybe he gets back to using his legs a little bit more, which would make sense. Maybe another year off of that away from that injury, so that could be great. But Dak's at 4. I think the top 3 on what who the players are pretty obvious. Look at the former Super Bowl champion here, reigning Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford of the Rams at number 3. Fantastic year with the Rams last year, winning that Super Bowl, very clutch. And that's the difference too, because he had his turnovers too. So you would like for him to cut down the turnovers. He had some sloppy ones, I guess, in big games in the regular season. But that's kind of the difference. The other quarterbacks have those turnovers, but and they can't get the job done. How can Stafford do that? The other guys can't. It's because He's a lot smarter. He's more clutch. He can make the big-time throw in the big-time moments. I mean, you look at the 49ers game, the NFC Championship game, at the end, and the same thing in the Super Bowl, against the Bengals. So, yeah, he just kind of has that it in him, that it factor there. Would help get the job done, and definitely helps the Rams have a lot of talent on that team. But I think he's locked in at number 3 here. It's pretty tough to argue anywhere else really here for Matthew Stafford. So I think he's 3. And 1 and 2 is so damn tight. It was for the MVP race as well last year between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. The MVP race, Aaron Rodgers won it, but a lot of people really on the fence, myself included. I picked Aaron Rodgers, but in my head it was like 51 Aaron Rodgers, 49 Tom Brady. It was so close, so it can go either way this year. So I ended up going with Aaron Rodgers at 2 here, which I think he can end up being the best in football. He can win another MVP. Very curious to see him without Devontae Adams, because if he has the same performance as last year or close, it's going to look even better without Devontae Adams. Obviously, maybe the offensive line can help him out a little bit more, maybe being healthy, Bakhtiari, Elgin Jenkins. So that could be good and could help Rodgers' case to be that number 1 guy again, which he very well could. But excited to watch him again. You're curious to see how he does with Devontae Adams. Sometimes we say that, curious to see how this guy does without this guy. Is he going to be bad? Sometimes it's like that, but Rodgers is going to be great either way. Just curious to see the little bit of a difference, if there is one. But I want Tom Brady 1, and the reason, because again, last year for the MVP, it was so damn close. You could have really flipped a coin. I was slightly with Aaron Rodgers, or slightly. So I think it's realistic to think that Tom Brady could slightly edge out Aaron Rodgers this year, and the reasons I did that was, well, number 1, you look at the receivers. Rodgers did lose Devontae Adams, so maybe that hurts him a little bit. Tom Brady gets Godwin back. Godwin's still improving. They had Russell Gage, who also took a big step up last year. I thought he had a fantastic year for Russell Gage, and add him to Tom Brady. I think that helps him quite a bit. So that's kind of the big reason. You look at the receiver difference there. And then number 2 is just kind of like just a thought, like kind of a gut feeling, is Tom Brady retiring and then coming out of retirement. Like, it's just kind of a Tom Brady move to just be, I mean, he's always been dominant. Wouldn't be surprising, but it's just kind of one of those things, coming out of retirement and just have that legendary of a season. Just one of those kind of gut things, but more so the receiver difference is what slightly had me put Brady at number 1. But he's getting up there in age, and everyone's aging, I guess. But so could he take a step down? We just never doubt that Tom Brady there. But so we ranked the AFC quarterbacks based on how I think they'll play this year. In the last video, this one was the NFC, same thing. We'll eventually put them together, rank the 32 starting quarterbacks, and we'll do that for every position group. Rank the 32 starters for each position group in the NFL based on how I think they'll play this upcoming season. So a bunch of videos like that still to come heading into the season. Very excited about it. Hopefully you can join us. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Be much appreciated. Follow us on Twitter. A lot going on there. There's a link down below. It's at GoDowsNFL. Check it out. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.